Good morning, students. So now let us focus on to the next topic, that is how to measure this genotoxicity. So far in the last class we discussed regarding the topic, that is role of this toxicants or the toxicity, which is toxicants which is going to affect on the genetic level and even the mutations, right? So now let us move on to this, that is how to measure this genotoxicity. So you can see here the biomarkers of the exposure and even biomarkers of the effect and biomarkers of the susceptibility and biomarkers of this genetic damage. These are the four parameters which we can see or come across to measure this genotoxicity. So first of all, we'll see biomarkers of this exposure. So the biomarkers of these exposure are those which indicates the exposure of the organism to the particular chemicals, which does not give any information regarding with respect to the degree of the adverse effects which is going to cause the change in the human beings or the organisms. So these biomarkers of this exposure level, which usually indicates easily, it helps you indicating the presence of the xenobiotic substances or its metabolites, which can be measured easily within the compartment of an organism or in the absence of the, that is in the absence of the any adverse effect. That's what you cannot make out any adverse effect or the cause in the change in the effect, which is going to be the degree of the level of the effect which is caused by this, but only we can measure the particular toxicant which has been that is xenobiotic substance, which is or the metabolites which can be measured, that is the presence of that substance which can be measured by using this biomarkers of the exposure. So the application of this is mainly to predict the dose which is going to be received by an individual, which can be related to the changes further resulting in a disease state. So which also provides a, this also provides a very useful information regarding the effects of the toxicants with the time, with respect to the time. And this is the most widely used because they can, this is going to provide very good information with respect to the route and as well as the pathway, and even the sometimes it can also be used very widely to even the to predict the source of the exposure level. Coming for this biomarkers of the exposure to carcinogens, so it is one of the most important biomarkers which involves the detecting the ability of the xenobiotic substances or even the carcinogens in order to form the adducts with respect to the DNA or the protein molecule. So these DNA adducts, which are the chemical species which are going to be bound to the DNA. So these adducts which can be related further to the carcinogenesis mechanism or the carcinogenesis process, which can be measured by various sensitive methods, which includes TLC or even HPLC or even mass spectroscopy or even RIA and even ELISA technique. So these most of the carcinogens which are going to be electrophilic in nature, they are going to react with the nucleophile biomacromolecules, that is respect example DNA, in order to form the adducts. So these adducts further can be detected by the total hydrolysis of this protein molecule into the alkylated amino acids such as histidine, cysteine adducts. So it is mainly helpful to detect carcinogens. So the presence of these adducts, which can also be detected by the creation of the point mutation. So what we have discussed in the point mutations and frame shift, you might have remembered, recall once again while going through this topic. So this can also be detected by the creating the point mutation, creation of that point mutation. So what are the adverse effects which are caused due to the biomarkers? It is very important to know mainly with respect to the relation with the degree of the change of biological responses due to the adverse effects of these toxicants. For example, when an organ is misexposed sufficiently to the environmental pollutants, which may cause damage to the DNA molecule, further leads to the damage to the DNA molecule, and even these pollutants are going to be very specific genotoxic effects, which is going to cause genotoxic effects, especially with respect to the increase of the carcinogenesis rather than the effects of this reproductive process mechanism. So what do you mean by this markers of susceptibility? What this markers of susceptibility indicates? This plays an important role in assessing individual with respect to the differences in the susceptibility or that is susceptibility nature, that is whether the person is more susceptible to this particular toxicant exposure or even less susceptible, that is sensitive. So differences in the susceptibility which mainly impacts with respect to the based on the chemical agents or even the physical agents or even the any other infectious agents. For example, if you come across the people with the glucose beta phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency or the glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, further the individual which will be more susceptible to the which further leads to developing anemia upon exposure to this aromatic amines. But many xenobiotic compounds which are going to inhibit the activities of this immune system, which increases further the susceptibility to these infectious agents, parasites, and even which further leads to the cancer, that is with respect to the cancers also. So higher affinity to this particularly aryl hydrocarbon receptors, that is AHR, which further increase the risk of developing cancers, and even the people with the high metabolizers of debrisoquin, which have shown an increased risk of the lung cancer by using this biomarkers of susceptibility. So the biomarkers of this genetic damage, what it explains. So biomarkers of this genetic damage, which is mainly used to assess the damage mainly caused due to the DNA adducts, which is mechanically related to the carcinogenesis process. That is nothing but the use of these genetic markers, which has become intriguing for the molecular epidemiologists to explain with respect to this damage which is caused to the DNA adducts. So the genetic markers includes especially the alterations in the chromosomal structures such as restriction fragment length polymorphism, that is RFLPs, and loss of heterozygosity, and as well as translocation markers. So the interaction of these xenobiotic substances with this particular DNA and the consequent mutation which is going to happen, it involves mainly different stages. What are all the stages we will see? The formation of DNA adducts, the modification of DNA such as strand breakage, and the alteration of the gene function. So if you come for the next process, that is Ames test, what is this purpose or the rationale which will explain you with respect to this Ames test, why we have to do this Ames test? So the bacterial reverse mutation test, it is also called as. So it mainly investigates with respect to the ability of the chemicals and the drugs what we are going to use, which mainly induces reverse or the back mutations in case of bacteria, which further involves the base pair substitutions, additions, or even the deletions, that is nothing but frame shift mutations of one of the few DNA base pairs, or one or mainly a frame shift mutations of one or a few DNA base pairs. With respect to that, we are going to carry out this Ames test. These bacterial strains which are going to be used in this Ames test, which have the mutations in the genes mainly coding for the enzymes which are mainly required for the biosynthesis of the amino acids such as histidine and tryptophan. So for the histidine, Salmonella typhimurium, which can be used as a bacterial strain, and for tryptophan, Escherichia coli. So an extensive database which is going to exist with respect to these two strains based on the particular use of this test, and which has been found that the compounds which are going to produce a positive results in the bacterial reverse mutations test, which have a high potency with respect to this particular test in order to induce the cancer in the mammalian in the animals, which we can focus which we can see particularly with respect to this Ames test. So let us see how this Ames test which is going to be carried out. So first we will see this that is in case of they have taken the rat liver extraction in the test tube. So you can see here that is Salmonella strain which they are going to use, mainly this particular strain which is mainly required for the specific that is biosynthesis, which is genes which are present coding for the amino acids, that is histidine, especially the enzymes which requires this the genes which is mainly coding for the enzymes which is required for the biosynthesis of this amino acid, that is histidine, especially Salmonella strain typhimurium. And you can see the possible mutagen, you can observe this possible mutagen after the injection of the, using this particular strain in the with respect to the incorporation of this particular rat liver extract in this Salmonella strain, which mainly present with respect to this amino acid histidine. So this possible mutagen which can be plated on this plates media containing the media with the minimal histidine content. So after incubation, you can see here one plate which we have taken it as a control plate, that is you can see natural revertants in this particular plate, and we can see the positive uh, thing that is in the other plate. After incubation, we can see the high number of the revertants which can be used, which can be seen, that is histidine to histidine plus strains suggest that mutagens which causes the mutation, the presence of mutagen which causes the mutation, you can observe in the another plate. This how which will explain you with respect to this the genes, the mutated genes which is mainly coding for the enzymes required for this synthesis of amino acid, that is histidine. So the commonly used strains for this Salmonella typhimurium are the TA100, what they have used, TA1535, that is for the base pair substitutions, and TA98 and TA1537, which is mainly required for the frameshift mutations, and TA102 for the cross-link mutation. So the preferred strain of the E. coli in order to detect the base pair substitution which they are going to use is WP2. So the bacteria of an overnight nutrient broth culture are mixed with this particular test compound or the solvent which is taken as a negative control, and S9 mix or the buffer or the molten top agar which are going to be poured onto the petri plate containing a layer of minimal agar. So after incubation of approximately 48 hours at approximately 37 degrees Celsius in the dark, we can see the presence of colonies, that is representing the number of revertants which are counted by, which can be counted by hand or even an automatic machine which can be used, that is a colony counter, in order to count the colonies. So this method mainly which can be modified by including a pre-incubation step or by using a higher amount of S9 mix in the test system. So the pre-incubation would involve incubating the test compound S9 mix or even the buffer and a bacteria for a short period before pouring this mixture onto the plates or the of the minimal agar. So you can see, according to this current IECHS2R guidelines, we can see one experiment which they have conducted, which is mainly sufficient to determine the mutagenic potential, and this assay can be conducted as a plate or pre-incubation assay. So what is the evaluation? How they have evaluated that result of the test compound which can be seen with the revertant colonies? Mainly they have done with respect to this in order to determine for each concentration which is used in the test system, as well as for the negative that is taken as a solvent or untreated one, and even the positive control. So that bacterial toxicity which is going to express as the thinning of the bacterial lawn or in a reduction in the number of colonies, which is mainly compared with the negative control. So that explains you the particular number of reverted colonies which has been produced in the particular positive control with which they have compared with this negative control. So coming for this in vitro studies, what they have done in vitro, the purpose of this in vitro testing is mainly to determine whether a substrate or the product or even the environmental factor which is going to induce this genetic damage. So one technique what they have used is cytogenic assays, mainly explains you and it is used mainly to determine mammalian cells. So the types of the aberrations which are going to be detected in the cells which further affected by the genotoxic substances especially are including chromosomal gaps and chromosomal breaks, chromatid deletions, even maybe fragmentation, translocation and complex rearrangements, and many more can be observed in this particular by using this technique, that is cytogenic assay, which can be identified with respect to this in case of different mammalian cells. These are the types of aberrations. So the clastogenic or the aneurogenic effects which are going to be formed from the genotoxic damage, which will further cause an increase in the frequency of the structural or even the numerical aberrations of this genetic material. So this is further similar to the micronucleus test and chromosome aberration assay. You need not to discuss micronucleus test, only chromosomal aberrations assay I have discussed, which mainly detects the structural and numerical chromosomal aberrations in case of the mammalian cells. So the gene mutations which are commonly we discuss, that is point mutations, and these point mutations which includes base substitutions or either it may be deletions, frame shift and even rearrangements. Also we can see the chromosomal integrity may be altered through this chromosome. The specific type of the damage, which is mainly determined by the size of the colonies, distinguishing between genetic mutations, that is mutagens, and chromosomal aberrations, that is called as clastogens. So we will see what it explains the chromosomal aberration tests. So this chromosomal aberration tests, which explains or measures the occurrence of the chromosomal aberrations generally in the bone marrow or even in the peripheral blood cells. So this chromosomal aberration test, in this, the mitosis is going to be arrested in the metaphase stage, what we are going to see in the next slide. I will show you. So the mitosis is going to be arrested in the metaphase stage with a mitotic inhibitor that is called as colchicine. So this metaphase preparations, which are going to be examined for the chromosomal breaks and even for the chromosomal rearrangements. The number of cells with this chromosomal breaks is a measure of this particular clastogenicity, or even the measure of the mainly done for measuring the clastogenicity for the of the chemical for this particular chromosomal aberration test. This is an in vitro cytogenetic test which can be done, which is a clastogenicity test also we can call test system, which is mainly used for the detection of this chromosomal aberrations in the cultured mammalian cells or even the primary cultures which we can use. So these chromosomal aberrations may be either structural or numerical, which you can make out. These are of two types: structural aberrations, especially chromosome, that is type aberrations, which are going to be induced when a compound acts in the G1 phase of the cell cycle. So the chromatid, that is a type of aberrations which are going to be induced when a chemical acts in the S and G2 phase of the cell cycle. You all know that is G1 phase and G2 phase and even the S phase in case of the mitosis, right? So coming for this numerical aberrations, which are going to be changed in the number of the chromosomes of the normal number, mainly, which is how you are going to characterize this particular thing, mainly based on the characteristics of these animals which are going to utilize. So the best estimate of this aberration frequency is the first cell division after the start of the treatment. See here, you can make out this metaphase stage. So the calcimide which can be used, that calcimide which is going to block this particular spindle formation, which you can make out in the further picture. So what they are going to do in this test, the cultured cells are going to be seeded onto the slides, and the cells which have been treated with and without metabolic activation for a short period of time, example 3 hours. So where the negative or the equivocal results are going to be obtained, that is an independent experiment which is mainly conducted wherein which the cells are going to be treated for the long time period, example 22 hours. So we can make out in the absence of metabolic activation alone, so and then sampled and long time period, that is for example 20 hours, not 2 hours, that is in the absence of this metabolic activation alone, and then it is going to be sampled and examined for further chromosomal analysis. So what it is going to indicate, calcimide is added to each culture, that is for both the cultures, that is one is with the metabolic activation, one is without. So the particular calcimide is going to be added to each culture 2 hours before sampling in order to arrest the cell division. So the chromosome preparations which are going to be made and again fixed and strained and examined further. So this clearly indicates the positive results which is obtained in the first experiment with those which is formed from the second assay, which are not going to be examined. If equivocal are the negative results which are obtained in the first experiment, modification to this particular testing procedures also includes in order to clarify the results. So the set of the chromosome which is further examined for the completeness and the various chromosomal aberrations which are further assessed and classified it is. So the metaphases are going to be examined for the following aberrations, that is which we can observe: chromatid gap, that is in the second assay, chromosome gap, chromatid break, chromosome break, chromatid centric fragment and chromosome acentric fragment, chromatid deletion which we can observe, and even chromosome deletion also, chromatid exchange also including intra-changes, and even chromosome exchanges including intra-changes, and further dicentrics also can be observed, pulverization and even the ring formation can be observed. So these are all the chromosomal aberrations which we can observe in case of alterations, which we can observe in case of the metaphase stage condition in the second assay. After that they are going to compare with the first experiment with the modification what they have done in the other testing procedure in order to identify these particular results in the second assay. Thank you. So this completes your genotoxicity, and further we will move on to the next topic, that is liver toxicity and kidney toxicity.